Inviting me back in.
Yeah, well, here's a amazing reality check in real time. So,
Yes.
welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to this live. It's Feminine Leadership Friday. First of all,
Right.
I usually do the Feminine Leadership Fridays at noon, and then this morning I see on my computer I get a message 11 a.m. meeting with Michelle Baker. The interview, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy that the computer sent me that. I didn't remember it was today, and I changed in the feminine leadership wisdom community, not at 12, but at 11. I don't know whether this is menopause mind or what, but uh, those of you watching this afterwards, Lauren and I had this lovely conversation. Like prior to this, I said, "No, well, time-wise, we have to get off because at 11, I'm going to be interviewing the inimitable Michelle Baker. She's amazing." And then
Okay, what happened?
I wrote to Michelle, and it's like, where is she? This woman is so on time. She's like Swiss watch. It's like, where is she? And God bless. All right, I'm a baby boomer. You know, I've started doing, I keep this is my agenda. I'm like paper agenda because it's tactile and
Yeah, I do too.
this is grounding for me. But
Yes.
I'm also with the times. I've been beginning to put because the younger clients are like, how come you just don't put things on the computer? And then my assistant, they're all used to the electronic stuff. So I've been putting it,
Yes.
yet for some reason, I don't know why it said 11 o'clock today. When I look here, it's like, no, it's the 18th is
Ah, and today's the 8th.
Today is the 8th, so I didn't see the other one. And actually, she will be with us on the 22nd of this month. I
Okay.
went to her, thank God I went to her wall, and the woman's giving a presentation in London right now.
Oh.
But what's so great about this, and we may have others chiming in here, so I'm looking
Oh,
forward.
okay.
We'll stay on till 11:30, and it'll be great. And for those of you who are watching afterwards, we'll continue the conversation in the community. And it's actually such perfection with feminine leadership, because the subject that I thought would be a really cool thing for us to explore today is like, well, it's like when the shit hits the fan, when it's like you don't know what's going on, and it's like,
Yeah, I went through that ringer to this week, so yeah, that's perfect.
when you go through the ringer, it's like, so how do you deal with the unexpected and not knowing what's going on in a feminine way?
Ah,
And you know what is so cool, Lauren? Because it's so funny, because Lauren and I were just speaking about this before. It is
yes.
for the pilot course that's going to start Tuesday, and we have a few spaces left. So if any of you are, if you're a juicy woman in midlife transition, really, really ready to have uh, your second half of life be the most meaningful and really come out in your power, then this pilot may really, really be for you. I've never done this before, and uh, Lauren is actually part of it. And
Love being a groundbreaker.
yeah, Lauren
Yeah,
is
being a
around
groundbreaker, a forerunner.
with this material. We were supposed to have one example of it is, the intention was to have the 3-month immersion which was to start last week, and to incorporate the material from the Ancient Wisdom of Feminine Leadership. But it wasn't happening.
Mm.
And I didn't know what was happening, but it felt like molasses in January.
Oh, yes, I understand that.
You know, and so it's like that situation where you have a plan and you're actually following through on the plan, but it's not moving forward, or you're taking the same actions, but there's this there's a split. Part of you knows that you're showing up and you're committed to showing up, but there's another part of you that is just, there's resistance. It's like this push pull.
Mm.
And what I learned from that was, this whole material is, less is more, slow is fast. And at some point I gave it up. Instead of, it was a decision of having to making it work, but then I'm not going to be authentic, and then I'm going to be the one giving the material, and that's not what this entire community nor this work is all about. But
Right.
it took being willing to fail. I'll let people down. I made this commitment that people, enrolled and they're expecting, and all of this stuff. And it's not popular. And the people pleasing part of me, oh my God, what do they say?
Yeah.
I won't be responsible. But once letting it go, it allowed for something else to come in. And this pilot is for us to be creating together. And
Okay.
so I have a question for you, Lauren.
Okay.
So when things are, when they're not going, when you can't count on something, how are you showing up now? Look at what you do know about feminine power. Let's explore this. If I may share what you were sharing before, is that okay?
Yeah, not in too many details. Just
just on point of I was asking Lauren, because she's one of the women in the pilot. What do you? And it's not cookie cutter. I mean, I've taught this for 30 years, but we're at a critical mass now. And what she said was, so what is compelling about this material that she's worked with before? She's going deeper. It's so how do you, what's compelling is the fact of a woman being a leader as a woman. All right, that really ooh, I get butterflies in my stomach just saying that. So let's explore that.
Okay.
All right. So when the shit hits the fan, right? But you are so your power, your energy in showing up, it's really beautiful. Do you notice this thing of, on one hand, you feel so vulnerable, but on the other, show up and follow through on, I don't really can you relate to that?
Yes. What I'm thinking is it's a balance of masculine and feminine energies, correct? That you found some way of balancing the two, because you have to think and you have to
experience.
Okay, in my experience, you have certain things you have to do. You have to do, you think them through as quickly as possible. I have to do this, line it up, and you do the steps. But on the other hand, there's something else going on the feminine side. That's the masculine side, the mental. But on the feminine side, there's the question of integrity. why am I doing this? Am I doing it because it really is important for me to do? Is it making sense on an emotional level? That balancing of those two, because I can understand why you would say it's not working. Obviously, I'm just pushing against a mountain. I have to stop and reassess. I mean, I don't see that as a failure. I guess that I see that as just flows instead of hitting them straight on.
So how do you, when, you know, in your life, you know, with what you come up
Mm-hmm.
with, you know, and in your, you know, sharing with others and your being of service and, you know, in your own leadership, how, like, that really is compelling, what I hear you saying, that, you know, on one hand you have these things that you need to get done, but and that's the masculine way to do things, take action.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you said something on the other hand, there's in the feminine something deeper. I can't
In
remember.
the I was saying that on the feminine side, there's the thing about the integrity of the action.
Integrity. Yeah. So
It's
where do
not
you
just a
go? So,
mental reflex, you
yeah.
know.
All right. So where do you go? Like when you see that, how
Mm.
do you, like if you were to go on the feminine side and connect with that, what
I go
is,
within. Yeah, I do definitely go within. I get heart centered, and I try to ground. This past week, I had a lot of challenges, and I grounded, and that helped keep. But I also had to have some time apart from what was happening around me. I had to step away.
okay, so grounding and then stepping away. So how
Even
did,
if it was just for a few minutes, just to recalibrate, to balance out my energy,
and why was that important to you?
because I was getting lost in the maelstrom. So much was happening, so much shit was fan. So it was important. So it was so important to hold myself together in some way and be authentic. There you go. That's that good word. To have integrity and be authentic, and
And
not be afraid, and not be afraid to say what I had to say when I had to say it, because it came to that point where I had to say something very strong to someone I'm close to, and it was very good after all was said.
ooh, I'm getting goosebumps. Because as I'm listening to you speak, what it's bringing up is Anat. Anat she was the like storm goddess in ancient Hebrew.
Ooh, the storm goddess.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know,
I
that
know.
there's like what I'm relating to in listening to you, and it's something that I've been experiencing recently myself of, you know, as things fall apart more and are shifting, you know, none of us can count on anything. These are the times that we're living in. And it's the power of this feminine way. Uh, what it's like the dark part, the muddy parts, like when you were saying the maelstrom is like going around, but you know, it's like you first took time to ground yourself and you're taking yourself apart, which then enabled you to come back, and you had some very difficult things that you needed to communicate to somebody who you're very, very close to. And that's so, you know, that is so
Emotionally
vulnerable.
very powerful situation.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know, and it's a scary thing to do.
Yes.
But through the storm, and then I hear that it came out well. Do you
Yes.
do you relate to um, how does the storm, and you're not running from it,
No.
connect to the good that came out of it?
Oh, Well, I don't know. I mean, I felt that I was slammed up against the wall. I had nowhere to go except what I had to say and say it succinctly when I had to say it. And I think that it was something that needed to be said a long time ago, and I just never did. And that was my last chance, and I took it.
So that the storm actually
Helped the process.
empowered
Yes,
you
yes,
to speak your truth.
yes.
That by speaking your truth, you were actually empowering your loved ones, because it sounds like it worked out well. And I'm
Yes.
getting I'm getting goosebumps in my stomach now, because look at that. Now that's the part of a nut. I think that's the the dirty waters, the dark side of feminine power.
Yes.
The womb space. And
Oh, yeah.
I think for so long, for eons now, that in service to our intellect, our intellectual life, we that part got disconnected. And that perhaps part of the gift of what we're all going through now in all of these storms is that we're getting reconnected to that part of ourselves. Like when I look at you, it's like a generator. It's like, no, it's like you're so present.
Yeah.
And when you speak of that, I, as a listener and watching you, and whoever else is watching afterwards, do you like, I, my sense of you is very clear and calm, actually.
I'm in a very different space than I was a few months ago. Yes, when we went to on the trip to Israel.
I'm not speaking about that.
I know, but I've made this progression. Something broke open
In
this
Israel.
past week. No,
Oh.
this past week. Yeah. I would say that for the past few months, I was in a sort of a stale place. And so that's about authenticity as far as I'm concerned, and being authentic and being and having integrity within oneself.
That is like, I think that's it. That's like really it. Having
Yes.
integrity with yourself and authenticity with yourself. And I'm experiencing similar with, I've had a few instances where I've had to do something really hard for me, where I feel, so vulnerable, but I just couldn't not, it's like when you're to the edge, and
Yes.
the feedback that I'm receiving, like from a few different places and instances, just have rocked my world, because it's such positive feedback. Whereas inside of myself, with the old dialogue, or whatever triggered, I thought that it was the opposite, or like I was going to be received wrong. But I think it's when we get to the place where we're really expressing our truth, and we're expressing our truth from the place of, like you said, integrity with ourselves, that's what's been missing. And my head is spinning right now. I'm getting, it's not a download, but I'm remembering something else that now I'm seeing it's connected. I've also had several instances over the last, I don't know, few months or so, of such powerful women. I mean, really powerful women in the world. And through how they've communicated, or what the dynamic has been like, see, there's such a dichotomy between how we show up in the world and how we are for others, with others, compared to how we are with ourselves.
Okay. Yes.
You know, that it astounds me that the lack of self-esteem, but it's not from a place of victim. These are not women who are living as victims in the world. These are women who are giving to other people. You know, people count on them. They're out there. And
Okay.
whether it's in a, you know, in a corporate setting, or they're entrepreneurs, or, you know, in their community and their families, I'm not referring to but they are definitely out there. And you have added a piece here that I think is really crucial of that inner integrity. When you know that really is a bridge, because then we're keeping the focus on ourselves, right?
Right.
And then we show up as leaders.
Yes. That's so important, isn't it? It transfers into something that's useful for other people. Instead of holding it and keeping it for ourselves, we share it, and that it empowers in turn the others.
You know what you're saying now too also reminds me of something somebody in the community wrote within the last few days about. I think I asked a question of about what is feminine leadership, and somebody wrote about leadership. You know, it's like that word leadership conjures up that masculine. You know, it's like our immediate association. I didn't actually think of that. But when she wrote that, it's like, oh, right, yeah.
Mm.
But what you're saying now is like, that's really a brilliant way that we could see feminine leadership.
Okay, so that answers my earlier question, how to be a leader as a woman rather than as a man.
And what's the answer?
To empower others. It's not power over. It's not being the leader in a line. You don't step ahead of everyone. You just go with everyone all together. So it's an empowerment across the board.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I'm so excited to explore. It's the thing that is so inspiring to me about the prophetess Miriam. And what I'm really excited to explore in the pilot is that, you know, her leadership is that she led from the side. Like,
Right.
nobody knows who the prophetess Miriam is, unless you're a religious Jew or, you know, a religious Christian. You know, nobody knows who this woman
Yes.
was. And she's the one who prophesied this shift from the ancient world into, you know, this new world. When I'm saying new world, I'm just, for lack of better words, the words are really limiting to this whole issue, because we're referring to another paradigm that connects the dark, that connects so many different levels at the same time, that we've forgotten. So here we are 3,000 years later, living cognitively, but being reawakened or reconnecting to something that's coming up, and then trying to explain it in cognitive words.
And it's
You
not
know,
a concept.
yeah, you know, exactly. But look at this. I'm getting goosebumps. She's like from the sidelines, but even so, I mean, I remember writing about that, and, you know, it was coming out in the book on the sidelines. But now when I look at it, it isn't even the sidelines. It's not about, because you could look at sidelines going, oh yeah, well, because she's a woman. Like, that's what our conventional thing would see. Oh, because she's not seen. No, because some leadership that knows its leadership, and you really addressed it when you were saying about, you said what you had to say because you didn't have another chance and you took it.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
so she wouldn't have been the only one. Humanity was going through shift like it's going through shift now. It's like nature
Right.
is bigger than we are, but
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
she was of the leader class. And if she was a prophetess, she would have seen what was coming. And the leadership was through the unspoken, through the what's not seen, through the invisibility. And I haven't ever heard anyone address this, and I really want to address this because it's powerful. And the fact that you just addressed what you did right now is living proof that it's coming through us. And that's living proof of this feminine leadership, which is, it's a collective.
Yes. You can't do it. It's not one person.
No. And each one of us has a piece of it.
Yes.
This is why I think, when you were against the wall and you spoke up, you didn't think about the other people. You were actually being you.
Right.
As the instrument relating to the group as a whole, but not the people as personalities, rather the principle of the harmony, which you had to speak the truth, to be in integrity with the truth, such that the whole could come into harmony. Does that?
Yes, yes. I know you're recording this, but I'm writing down notes anyway. It helps me process. I don't look at my notes afterwards. It just helps me process.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
So,
because it's not about her becoming, for example, Miriam wasn't about being special and above everyone. She was facilitating for the others, for the whole group, for the whole community.
she was facilitating for humanity. She was facilitating for all of us. And I don't want to go back there and remember what was. That's ridiculous, because we're here and now, and that's all there is.
Right.
Yet
the concept.
Exactly. Yeah. And imagine what is that when you're connected to the all and you can see what's coming. I can relate to it personally by sitting here across from this Hollywood sign, that I'm living in LA, which I never thought I would be doing. Yet now I so remember now 30 years ago, the conscious decision I made to extricate myself from here and make changes when I didn't have to, because I could see the writing on the wall. In another 20, 30 years, whatever, that things were falling apart, that the change was happening, and I'd make my changes when I didn't have to, such that when that happens, I'd be able to come back and be of service. That's why I'm here now. But I didn't, in my mind, being in Israel, you would have told me 5 years ago I'd be living here, I'd send you to the loony bin. It was the last place on earth. And in fact, it took until leaving here for the retreat and for, and for your training, that was the first time in my life that I actually looked forward to coming back to LA. I was, thrilled to go back home to Israel, but I was also like, I'm really looking forward to coming back here. But who would have? So imagine that's 30 years. Think we're talking about 3,000 years, that she would have seen this, and that we've had all of these eras over the 3,000 years. And here we are coming full circle in another cycle. And how lucky we are to be alive in this day, that whatever that leadership was, whatever that connection was, is what you just expressed. Whoa! Now imagine, as we eat more, you know, imagine, and dear hearts, if you're watching this, this is what the pilot is about. Leading with feminine power. You're not being alone, and you're having your voice. And working with this in a way that you get your clarity, that you can show up, that, and what is it like for women to be themselves with each other, where you can be vulnerable, because your vulnerability is your power. And Lauren, you're like poster child, you know, example right now. I mean, not just on the spot. Look at that, you know. And usually when we're on our own, right, you know, your back is against the wall and you go, oh no, you know, yeah, I don't know about you gals, but you know, I would either in the past, I just, oh no, I'll just go do it on my own. But I'm isolating, or, you know, disconnecting myself until I feel strong enough to look good enough in public. You know?
that whole idea of looking good is so misleading. It just takes you away from getting done what has to be done, because you put your energy in the wrong place, right?
Well, that's a good point too. Yeah, maybe it's not even putting your energy in the wrong place. It's like because energy is energy, right? You know, so when we do that, our energy, that we're investing our, you know, you pay one way, you pay the other, you know, money, energy.
Okay.
Right? All right.
Right.
So when I'm isolating and I'm doing it alone, for years that was very important. I mean, and there's import to that too. I think it depends on the level of, you know, where your consciousness is.
Okay, you know, so you have to go through different cycles and phases.
I mean, well, look at it. Doesn't that make sense? You know, when you're in the place where you're not yet connected to yourself, it's important to, well, you were saying, you alluded to that too. When, all right, there you are, the shit hits the fan, you're in the fire. All right, there was the part of the feminine that is the integrity. What did you do? You connected, and you took time out to connect. All right.
That's true. That too. Yes.
Okay. So it's not a cognitive rule. It's like there's so many layers at the same time. And yet, if I'm removing myself because what's the motivation? If I'm disrespecting my power and giving it away, I'll go hide in the name of connection.
Oh no, it wasn't.
And, you know, until I look good and come forward. I mean, it happens a lot, like with these, like showing up consistently online. It's like, do I want to show up all the time? No. And do I know what to talk about all the time? No. But I made a commitment, right? I'm showing it. Is it perfect? Well, I mean, you all, you know, if you've seen me now, it's like anything but that's the whole point.
Yes, because that's real life.
Because that's life, and to be in support of whatever this thing is, and you know, by our showing up in our imperfection, then we learn, and then we do empower ourselves. And then, like you said before, well, your back was against the wall and you weren't looking pretty. You were willing to be in the place of not being pretty, but you were actually being pretty to yourself.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
You know, that allows.
It felt real. It felt very real.
You know, that allows other people to connect with their real. And none of us has grown up that way. None of us. We're all learning.
Yeah. I don't know anyone who's a leader for example, in my family, in my background. I don't see anybody who was a leader in the masculine sense, right? That particular way, woman or man in the family. And things have shifted so much I think what is just so close to what I am naturally is coming forth because it's being allowed. Does that make sense?
Well, meaning that things have changed so
To
much
naturally to be a feminine,
within your family, within the leadership in your family?
yeah, the style of leadership. We had a
Wow.
very strong feminine connection in my family. A lot of aunts, grandmother, mothers,
Yeah.
sisters, cousins, girl cousins. So there was a lot of that. But no one had the masculine style of getting out there and really showing themselves to be a leader.
Oh,
And it wasn't important. And I think the time has come now for a different kind of leadership. And I'm falling into that very easily because I know it's to be a woman. I don't know what
wow.
it's
Oh, wow.
like.
Meaning, so if I'm understanding you, that you're actually
I don't know how to take on masculine attributes of leadership. I don't have that. It doesn't come to me naturally.
Yeah.
I was never shown that way.
The most powerful example I've experienced of this, and really the only one, of just feminine leadership was in China. Of this, I mean, that CEO of this music spa that they invited me to from Israel. They didn't even know I was American. And this woman was 4 feet tall, so demure on one hand, and a lioness on the other, that you just want to be on this woman's good side. It's like, I've never experienced that before. Like the light and the dark were just so balanced within that woman. Every time I connect with that in my tummy, I feel this thing. I've never experienced that in the West. I mean, even the other day I was speaking of this. The other day I was speaking of this, and I think Oprah Winfrey came up, but Oprah Winfrey's still in the Western model, of the leadership is in business. Yet, because of her background, because of her difficult childhood, I think that allowed for the feminine. I don't know. I don't want to get in my head about it, but it's still.
No, you want to categorize it too much. Okay.
It's where that woman in China, this storm was very apparent, but it was apparent and because it was in China. And because China is connected, it was very modern, wealthy China. I didn't know that existed, but the fact that it's China still has the connection to ancient China. And I was being brought in from Israel that they esteemed of ancient Israel. That's the connection, is Israel and China. They don't have the mindset that the West has about Israel. It's a very, very different dynamic. Their respect was of the wisdom from the ancient culture.
Okay, that's fascinating.
It's really fascinating. So that didn't think of that until this conversation. Is it probably perhaps because of that her storminess, the stormy power can have full expression. I didn't see her blow up at anyone, but it's this kind of like Cleopatra. I don't know how to describe it in words. It's more a gut feel. Just her behavior. And she was like this autocrat, but it wasn't autocrat. But you didn't want to fuck with her. You knew this woman is in charge.
She commanded respect and she had authority, huh?
She had authority, and yet she was dressed really softly, and her daughter was 4-year-old daughter was with her, and she was so soft. And when she came, she was like, they had this uh, they wanted me to come in on the weekend because they were having a 16-year anniversary of this spa. And I didn't really know what I was going to. I was jumping into the unknown. I didn't know whether it was spam or, and well, you know, worst comes to worst, I'll have a free trip to China. You know, it'll be a grand experiment.
Yes.
But it was this experience I could never have expected. It was such wealth, and it was this 9-story building of a music spa. That is what it was.
That sounds wonderful.
And this 16-year thing was like an Academy Awards for this place. And they said everything was in Chinese, and my interpreter couldn't be with me because she's Chinese. So she was with the workers. And that's when I saw like feudal stuff. It was so interesting. And I wasn't introduced to the CEO, but the CEO brought me there to be the honored guest.
Yeah, that's very strange.
Bizarre. It's just, I guess, another, you know, different mindsets and different value systems. And I was brought to be the honored guest, and then I was giving 2 workshops, one to doctors and one to the leaders of the members of this music
how fascinating.
and then a private meeting with the CEO to give her private session or something. And and all of the other things, the interpreter was there. And the interpreter, it astounded me because the interpreter was the first doctoral student of music therapy in the prison system. She was a really fascinating woman. Yeah, I mean, with stature, why couldn't she be with me with the honored guests?
Yes, that's so strange.
Because she was an employee of the company. She told me afterwards, but even her speaking to me, maybe this is how I learned about the dark energy. And I'm not judging the dark. I don't mean to judge that.
No, you weren't saying it was anything evil. You're just saying it was a different.
No, it was just so different. And that was 2011, I think, when that was. And where are we 8 years ago? I have not unpacked all that thing. I'm still, you know what? I think the fact that this is coming up now, I never think about this over the last 2 weeks, given what I was sharing with the women, this dichotomy, it's coming up. And I'm inviting in with you and I as the first, you know, there are other women in the pilot and the other women who will come in, whatever our small group is, a very small group, that I want to invite this in of allowing for this dichotomy to come up and allow ourselves space to allow an expression so that it can find balance, you know, which you today have given a really beautiful example of that, you know, with what you experienced.
Right.
You know, that we don't have to be, and it's such a, we've gone longer here, guys.
Oh yeah.
But it's real. This is just serendipity, and I think part and parcel of that feminine leadership being voiced through, you know, through this encounter today. And that we don't have to be afraid of not knowing. And that I would love for, you know, those of you who are watching afterwards, you know, what is your experience of, you know, this exploration that Lauren and I have been having, in this encounter just without planning.
No, it's been very, for me, it's very rich.
Me
It's
too.
amazing.
It's like, ooh, it's like, it's so beautiful. There's such wisdom and such health and such prosperity. And this is the first time, if you are watching this and you're inspired by this, please, let us know what is getting stirred up. And Lauren, why are you enriched?
Because it feels like I'm continuing to talk authentically, straight from the heart, rather than thinking about it too much and getting too cerebral.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go. Yeah, I have to go cook dinner.
Yay. So yeah, we look forward to your comments, and we will continue in the community. And if you are so inspired by this exploration, and you're a woman in midlife transition, and you would like to consider being part of this pilot, pop me a private message and let's chat, because this is a lot of how we're going to be working. We've got the material. It's like thousands of years worth of material, yet what is going to be transpiring is that the women in this pilot are going to be creating together by embodying this material, each one on her own, in her own time. And we're going to be growing and expanding in our good together. So look forward to hearing from you. And have a wonderful, wonderful meal, Lauren.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. And you have a good afternoon. What time is it over there?
It's now just before noon.
Oh, okay. Well, have a good afternoon. Have a good day.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.